So, my friend Spam and I had this idea. The idea was that there's these little YouTube video channels that record entirely AI generated stories. So, they get an AI to generate the story, then they get an AI to read the story, and they get an AI to make the thumbnail for the story. And the entire thing is done almost automated. We listened to one of them, and it was bad, as one would expect. And I had the thought that what if we recorded our own, where we took the thumbnail and title of one of his videos and just made up our own story on the spot. So we did that. The first story was Bricks of Eldridge. It is a short story about Spooky House. The second story is The Last Sacrifice. Thank you for watching. Jeremy and his close friends were walking home from school one day on the same route that they had many times before. Jeremy had never left his small town. He'd grown up, lived there his whole life. Now at the age of 16, he was sure that this would be where he would die. When they seen a new building, they'd walked this road hundreds of times before, and they'd never noticed this manor built of bricks and stone. A monolithic structure stood tall on the empty field, a cast iron gate blocking them from the drive of this manor. Jeremy turned to Kyle and said, "Hey, Kyle, I dare you to go ding-dong ditch this house." Kyle immediately rebutted, "No way, dude, this is not a good idea. This isn't a building that's been here before." Susie pipes up saying, "Come on, guys, we gotta go, we're gonna be late." Susie had hoped that they would be able to catch the 4 a.m. matinee in the one thing to do in their shithole of a town. "Come on," Kyle said. I think it's a new building. We should totally ding-dong ditch it." Jeremy added, I really don't think it's a good idea." After a short back and forth, they decided to hop the wrought iron fence and run up to the door. As they did, they'd seen the bricks. They seemed to have moved as they walked closer to the building, swaying and moaning as grotesque faces appeared. Kyle immediately shrugged this off as hallucinations. As they grew closer and closer to the building, they quickly noticed that there was more to this structure than they'd initially anticipated, and they could no longer dismiss what they were seeing as mere tricks of the light. As the building began to move and creak towards them as they grew closer, they turned around to run as Kyle says, "Oh fuck, we gotta get out of here, man." When the building lurches upwards, grotesque claws of brick and steel reaching out towards them. The wrought iron fence that once blocked their path is now tightly woven, brambles of steel and iron reaching as high as the sky can see, as the bricks of the Eldridge Manor creak up behind them. The last thing that they see is the red amber of the brick crushing their very souls out of their body.
Last Sacrifice, it was not as dramatic as one might expect. Although what led up to the sacrifice was quite dramatic, with all the burning houses and the bombs from the sky, it was just nothing. It ended with nothing. It's a story about nothing. It was, one might say, the last of nothing. a meaningless, pointless end to the history of mankind. What could have been would never be. For it was the end. The end hath come. What had caused the end? Otakus. No one saw them coming. Portals opened everywhere. In castles, in cities, in television stations. They poured through with their skills from another world. They mostly fought against each other at the beginning, but soon only the most ruthless and cruel survived. And soon there were only 30. And those 30 few tackled the world in their own little ways. Some used mind control powers, and others used great weapons to annihilate the populace until there was no one left that could oppose them. But in the end, it wasn't the most dramatic of them that survived. It was perhaps the most subtle. His power, last sacrifice, which he could use to simply pick out a person of his choosing and sacrifice them to gain one level. But there was no cooldown. And he used it to kill all the other otakus, and before long there was no one who could oppose him because he gained all of their levels and murdered everyone. The end.